some funk music. We are getting groovy over here using some Hammer-Ons. It is one of the greatest things that we can do on a bass. Frankly, it's just like instant funk awesomeness, and I'm going to show you how to integrate that into your playing so you can start practicing the technique, recognizing it when you hear it, and then, be able to get a little funky as you explore the instrument and play some cool grooves. So if you want to get tab notation, anything like that to accompany this video, please check over my Patreon page, support there. I really can't tell you how much it helps me as I make these videos and provide some fun lessons for you all. So in the meantime, let's get into it. Now, as I am playing this groove, I'm basically just like having fun, messing around, playing around in the key of E, which is a great place to start working on Hammer-Ons because the technique of a Hammer-On basically involves a couple of things. One, having control with your fretting hand. Two, understanding that we're going to be playing notes that we're not always attacking with our plucking hand. So that means that we might play a note once and then not play with this hand, but use the pressure from our fretting hand to play it. So it's definitely a two-hand technique, and it involves, kind of having control over both of them and working together. So the other thing is that it's really cool when it comes to having open strings. So playing in the key of E or A or anything where you can kind of utilize your open strings, that's a great place to start as you begin practicing Hammer-Ons. So I definitely like working in the key of E. You can play E minor, E dominant, whatever. But the great thing about that is we have a lot of flexibility in terms of playing to the open strings. So for this groove, I'm primarily going to be working around this middle 7th fret E. So this is kind of my like midpoint. The great thing about that is it gives me both an octave above and below. So I can play something like the root and then the flat 7th and the octave. So I'm playing E and then a higher D and this higher E, the octave. And I can actually do the same thing with my open E. So I have a lot of like 2-octave flexibility here where I use my open E, the flat 7th or minor 7th, the D, and this E. And I can play the same thing up here. Now the cool thing is, as we begin playing Hammer-Ons, this motion of a whole step is a great place to throw a Hammer-On in because it becomes really easy to kind of like play with an index finger and then use the pressure of our pinky to play the next note. The Hammer-On is essentially that. It means that you play one note where you pluck it with this hand, and then you hammer on to create the second note. Now, the thing with this is if you play it too slowly, it's not going to sound good. You're going to have string ringing. It's going to be kind of weird. So the goal here is to play something that you can kind of play a little quicker. Hear how nice and like crisp that sounds? It's kind of a little but-up. So my first Hammer-On is going to be root note with my index finger. I'm going to play that D, the flat 7th, with my index finger also. And then I'm going to hammer on with my pinky. Now with this hand, I'm really only playing my root note, and then I'm playing with my index finger again to play the 7th, and the octave is going to be hammered on. So I'm not playing the last note with this hand. So you could see attack, attack, no attack for that last one. So that is the Hammer-On. And I'd begin just by working on this, getting a nice funky groove. Very cool. We can do the same thing by changing our groove, putting it in that lower octave, using our open E string, and then doing our Hammer-On from the D here on the 5th fret to this E. So right now, we have like a pretty sweet groove going already. Woo! Hey-o! We threw in a little high octave there. So I basically said, hey, let me take my open E, do my Hammer-On there, and then I went and jumped way up and got that higher Hammer-On. So again, playing the D to E with the Hammer-On, and then just finding it one octave higher. if you are not grooving by now, stop the video, practice this technique, and work it out. Because now we're going to add a couple other things and show you some other really cool ways to add in some hammer-ons. So now that we've got that, another super funky note to use to integrate a more interesting element to your hammer-on line is hammering on between the 6th and the flat 7th. So in this case, I'm going to be playing the C sharp into the D. Now the cool thing is we can go hammer on and then double hammer on. So I'm kind of hammering on C sharp into D and then D into that higher E. Now again, you'll realize that I'm playing my root note with this hand, and then when I go to play the hammer-on, I'm only playing the first note in the sequence, so I'm playing attack, hammer-on, meaning no attack from this hand for that second note, and then doing the same thing as I go from my flat 7 to the octave, or the D to E, attack, no attack. Again, it's the pressure of that pinky on the string that's hammering on the note. So. You can take this an octave lower as well. And again, you can kind of go between those two things. Whoa, so many cool things you can do. So this is just a really great way to get started with hammer-ons. Always sounds good if you're playing in the key of E and you can take advantage of that low E string. That way we have kind of 2 octaves to play with, but really you can play in any key. So get flexible with this, but just know that like playing in open E is a really great starting point because of where everything kind of falls on the fretboard. And yeah, again, kind of work on that attack for the root note, attack here, no attack, just pressure for the hammer-on. And as you can tell, like a lot of the notes that I'm playing are happening pretty quickly because I do have to hammer on into the note. You know, I'm not playing. Yeah, there's a lot of open dead space there. It can kind of sound a little awkward. So typically these hammer-ons are played pretty quickly. So do your best with this technique. Get this groove under your fingers. They're going to be more fun, cool videos about this technique coming soon, and happy practicing, everybody. Keep it groovy.